What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Couch Talk. So today, I just kind of thought about this as my day was going on, but the topic of today's video is going to be selflessness or like altruism, um, and they're very similar based on my understanding of what altruism is like you do something for somebody else without anything in return, expecting anything in return. Um, and similar to selflessness, like the definition of selflessness is concerns with needs and wishes of others rather than with one's own. Um, and quick little side piece: if you aren't aware, I would think this would be pretty common, but if you aren't aware, the opposite of selflessness is selfishness. And this is basically when all you're doing is like caring about your own life and not really giving a crap about anyone else around you, in lack of better terms. So there's a bunch of pros to altruism, selflessness. I know I got a couple things listed. The first one's like it helps others feel good. When you're making gestures to others or just being kind to help somebody out, it helps others really feel good. It's one of those things that it's really showing like, hey, I am thinking about you, and like I'm not thinking about you in an aspect of like, what are you going to give me in return? And it can also create this sense of belonging and reduces isolation, because I do find the aspect of being selfish can create this very isolated aspect to your world, because if all you're thinking about is you 24/7, you're isolating yourself in a sense. You're not expanding your thought process to the others around you. It can also, when you're selfless, it can very much give you a new perspective on things. Because when we're just thinking about ourselves, it's so easy to get caught up in tunnel vision on what we have going on. That when we start to look at others and help others, we can very much kind of put ourselves in other people's shoes in a sense. This one's pretty straightforward, but I know I've found this. It's contagious too. I really do think it's like a domino effect. Like someone does something good for one person, then that person does something good for another person. And I do find that another one is the more you do for others is the more you do for yourself. Because not only are you helping somebody, but you are learning about that person too. Caring for that person, whether it be a friend, a significant other, a random person, you name it. So it helps both parties at the end of the day. And I just kind of touched on this. The last piece that I had was fosters positive relationships. Because it's very hard to be friends with somebody, in a relationship with somebody, that all they want to do is think about themselves and not really make the effort or take the time to get to know you, get to know what you enjoy, what you like. That brings that isolated feeling back, like I had mentioned previously. But here's the one thing I do want to say about selflessness and selfishness. You have to find a healthy balance of both, because there are going to be points in life where you have to put yourself first, but then there are other points in life where you're good and now you can project all the good and help out other people. Like I would like to consider myself someone that has a pretty decent balance of both. And being selfish does have this bad stigma around it. Because selfishness is usually used in a negative connotation. But at the end of the day, you do have to look out for yourself at the end of the day. People aren't going to do the work for you at the end of the day. People aren't going to hold your hand through life. So at the end of the day, when it comes to big milestone things, there are pieces that you have to be selfish about. A great example is, something I am currently going through is getting a job. You have to be selfish in the aspect of you have to put things on hold. And that's not to say you have to be rude about putting these things on hold, but it's I've had to put some of my social life on hold. I'm not going out multiple times a week anymore because I'm so locked in on getting a job. Correction, a full-time job. That, I've had to sacrifice some of these things. And that's where that selfish piece kind of comes in. But another important piece to that is if you surround yourself with the right people, they will understand. And it's not going to be looked at as, oh, you're being selfish for your own purposes. It's you're being selfish to progress your future and to make you a better person and to set you up for success in life versus, hey, I'm just blowing you off so I can do my own thing. I do heavily think that you do just have to find the balance of both. And there are points in life where that is just difficult. It's hard. Big milestone stages, that is where you really have to find that balance. But it's something I can't express enough is, man, it's, again, you do have to be selfish at points, but lean more on the side of selflessness if you can, if that's an option. If you're in a place in life that is something you can do it. Because I think it's one thing of you never know what people are going through in their lives. So just a small kind gesture to some random person or even to your friends, if you're close with your friends, I'm sure you know what's going on in their lives. But if you're not always talking to them, little kind gestures to them, man, it goes a long way. And I do think the most important piece to selflessness, to truly be selfish and altruistic, is the aspect of you're not looking for anything in return. You're not doing a kind service, or you're not doing a kind act to get something in return. I will put my foot down and say, if you're claiming selflessness and that is the mindset that you have with it, you are not truly being selfless. Because that is, by definition, a transaction then. And it shouldn't be a transaction. It should be you doing something for somebody out of the kindness of your heart. I've met people on both sides of doing that. So yeah, I think selflessness is such a good quality in people. It's kind of slept on and doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, at least that I'm aware of. But if you're somebody that can find that balance to where you can take care of yourself, handle your own business, as well as do nice things for others, and like I said, not expect anything in return, then you will have that quality of selflessness attached to your accolade board. And I think that is so awesome. Selflessness is an incredible quality that, like I said, I think doesn't get talked about enough, gets kind of slept on. But yeah, guys, All right, we're going to jump into the quote of the day. And I'll be honest, I had a hard time finding quotes specifically about like altruism or selflessness. But I did find one that kind of, based on what I just explained, like, it kind of ties in both sides of selfishness and selflessness. So the quote is, "He who wishes to secure the good in others has already secured their own." So when I think about this, I think about like relationships. So like in order to be in a flourishing relationship, you have to be good. Like you have to be everything, not everything has to be right, but I would say majority of what you got going on has to be good. Because if your life's a scramble, you then can't give the best version of yourself to somebody else. So this is where that's the selfish side of it. But then the selfless side of it is, once you are good, you can then give the whole world to your partner, your friends, your wife, your husband, whoever it may be. Now that's not coming from an expert in the relationship field by any means. But that's just kind of how I interpreted it. Yeah. So, like I said, you got to find that balance of both. I don't think it's good to be on one extreme or the other, because I do think the double-edged sword of selflessness is, if you lean so far on the side of selflessness, then you can very much lose sight of yourself. And you own your own life at the end of the day. So if you're not taking care of what you have to do to run your own life, you are setting yourself up for failure in the long run. So it's all about finding that happy medium of both, And again, selfishness always has a negative connotation to it. But if it's selfishness for a good reason, I don't think there has to be a negative stipulation wrapped around that. But yeah, guys. So, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this. I'd love to get y'all's thoughts on this. This is one of these topics that, like, I don't know if I'd call it educational, but it's just more of a word that I had been thinking about. Selflessness, not selfishness. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about it, Let me know how you guys sit on that spectrum. I'm really curious because, I have heard both sides of, you really got to be selfish if you want to like blow up in life and get to that $100,000 mark in that bank account, you got to do it. But with that comes those sacrifices of no social life, no family time, no whatever. And I think that's where you have to also just knowing yourself. And I've also known people on the other side of like, all they want to do is serve and help others out, which is fantastic. Like, I'm not going to hate on other sides, on either side, just because I think there is a validity to both perspectives. But yeah, so that's going to be it today. Didn't expect to kind of ramble on all this, but let me know, like I said, let me know what you guys think on this topic. Let me know more ideas too. I'm always open for ideas. I'd love to hear feedback as well. I'm just, having fun doing this. And yeah, alrighty guys, I will see you guys. I'm thinking next Tuesday probably. I might be able to get one up tomorrow, but I'm thinking next Tuesday I'll be back. Alrighty guys, peace.